this place even exist anymore? Hey, Jamie, you doing all right, buddy? Jamie? Hold on, Jim Helton?
That is I.
Holy shit! All right! Now I get you for a turn. Let's go! All right, hello and welcome to Talk Heathen! I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Jim Helton.
It's March 10th, 2019. It is Season 3, Episode 10, and I'm so excited. Holy crap, hi, live studio audience! You know, we don't really mention it very often, but if you want to come and see us live, you can come down to the Atheist Community of Austin every Sunday, 1 p.m. Central, and come and sit in this live studio audience. It's free. We've got the seats. Come on down and say hi. Come and meet us. 1507 West Koenig Lane, Austin, Texas. And Jim Helton. Jim, I was so jealous when Jamie got to have you on, and now I get to have you all to myself. I'm excited about this.
It was great to be on, and I'll never forget the moment when the caller called in and said he could prove God existed because the Garden of Eden was hidden in the pyramids in Egypt. And if we had a video camera to the audience, Eric jumped out of his seat and was clawing at the windows of the studio. I literally got up and was like, I just felt like Eric should come in here because he was just clawing at the windows. I could even see scratch marks a little bit in the glass.
I was chewing on the chair
to get in here to be part of this amazing conversation. And I think my mouth just hit the floor literally. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say at first because I was like, wow, that's amazing.
It was beautiful. I'm so excited. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so lines are almost full. We've got plenty of atheists, and we've got a few theists, but if you would like to call in, if you are a religious person, we'll save this last line for you. You can call 512-686-0279. That's 512-686-0279 and talk to us. Jim, I know that you've already gotten the chance to introduce yourself, but I would just like to say, field organizer for American Atheists, former president of Tri-State Freethinkers, man who, didn't you organize the protest out in front of the Ark Encounter?
Yeah, so I live in between the Creation Museum and Ark Encounter, and I organize a protest every year with the Tri-State Freethinkers and partner with American Atheists. Planned Parenthood even sponsored it last year. We put up a 15-foot banner in front of the Ark, and we called it Genocide in Incest Park. Made international news, changed the story of what's actually going on there. We do the protest every year. Mm-hmm. July 6th come out. I know you're going to be there.
Heck yeah.
Super excited to have Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience and Atheist Community of Austin out there. But if it's a must. If you're an atheist and you like to protest and organize, you need to come out there. The who's who of activism. It's a phenomenal experience to experience what goes on at that protest.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I remember before I got really involved with, too involved with the ACA, I remember watching what you were doing and thinking, holy crap, if only. And now I've got you on my freaking show. I'm stoked.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get you at the Ark protest. And for everybody, you should come to Kentucky, July 6th.
I think they should come to other things, actually, even sooner. Isn't American Atheist doing something?
We have a little something going on. Easter weekend, and I know you heathens aren't doing anything Easter weekend. And if you need an excuse to not go see your family, come April 19th to the 21st is the American Atheist Convention in my hometown of Cincinnati.
Woo-woo!
Super excited. Jim Ogerfell, the Supreme Court decision for marriage equality, will be our keynote speaker. And a big addition to the American Atheist Convention is the introduction of workshops, multiple days of if you want to get involved in your community, you want to learn how to grassroots organize, you want to take on sex education, LGBT issues, the separation of religion and government, take on Project Blitz, which is a huge problem, testify in front of your state houses. My daughter, 14-year-old, testified against the 6-week abortion ban. We will write the testimony, help you testify on behalf of yourself and your local group. Come to the convention, learn how to do all these amazing things, and hear great speakers and famous people like Eric here.
Yeah. Well, actually, I am going to be. Yeah, I'm going to be there. Jamie and I are going to be there. We're going to be on the main stage on Saturday at 1 p.m. Talk Heathen is going to be going for its second year to the American Atheist Convention, followed by the Atheist Experience.
Does Jamie get to wear his hat again?
No.
It was beautiful.
I will burn it. No, he can wear his hat. That's fine. But yeah, definitely get your tickets, get it now, because I know that there is scarcity, and we want to make sure that if you want to get there, you.
And if you're a student, there's a $7,000 grant available to get students there that need help with travel, lodging.
Really?
To get students there. Go to atheist.org. You can get all the information. There's also local rates or hardship rates. If money's preventing you from coming, there are options for you to get you this convention because we want you there.
That's amazing. I absolutely loved the way that they handled a lot of things at the last convention. There was this effort to, prevent sexual harassment, and it was such a simple thing to do. There were these lanyards, and you'd have buttons, and there was a button that said, mingle. Or first time at a convention, different things you can say about yourself, how long you've been an atheist, whatever. But one of them said, I'm ready, single and ready to mingle. And that was kind of a way of saying, okay, I'm okay with coming up and being talked to about that. That was awesome.
It had an impact. Yeah, you could see if you wanted to say I was LGBT, I want to mingle, so people know to talk to you, because that's always the thing at conventions. People are there to learn and don't always want to be hit on. They want to learn, and this was a great way to say, hey, I am here to learn, or hey, I'm open to conversations at the bar, and you could easily take it off.
Yeah, I'm done now.
I'm done now, and I was very happy with the response we got from that.
Well, when it comes to sex ed, I've gotten to see your talks. And if you haven't gotten to see Jim talk, follow him and find a way to get to see it, because it is a really, really, it's a treat. And I know that I'm getting to geek out because I get you on the show today. And so I wanted to kind of just ask you to share just a little bit about what you've done with sex ed in particular. I mean, the way you've used that as a vehicle to create connections and grassroots is something that I think everybody should.
It's the number one issue we're taking on because it covers so many issues. But when I talk to atheists, they always say, is this really an atheist issue? Or I really care about separation of religion and government. And this is exactly what sex ed is. It helps the LGBT community. It helps our youth, helps education. It does all these things. There's only 13 states that require comprehensive sex ed. There's only 8 states that require consent. And we are actually having an impact. I'm going in there and saying, I'm Jim Helton with American Atheists, shaking these superintendents' hands, principal hands, and within 6 months usually or less, we're getting sex ed taught properly. So much so that organizations like Planned Parenthood, departments of health are asking us to help with training on how to implement these programs with our success rate. And if you care about separation of religion and government, we're working with school boards. We're working with superintendents. They like us. These are popular issues to help them. So when we see a nativity scene go up with a school, it's a simple call or email. They're like, my bad, Jim, we'll take it down. Or a training. We're not having to send attorney letters. We're not having to send lawsuits because we have relationships with these schools now. And it's just changed everything and how we're included in the community for other events. It's normalized atheism. So if you care about separation, religion, government, get involved in sex ed in your school because it's an issue we can win. And we are winning. And
that's, yes, absolutely. And if you want help, if you want that support, definitely check out what Jim is up to. You have a program called ACEs that you're using, and you're going around the country helping people out. And that is so incredibly close to my heart. That is absolutely what I want to see everywhere. I am so jealous of the amount of work, and I'm so in awe of the work that you put in to get there. Dude.
Yeah, I am a boots-on-the-ground activist. We want to do activism, community, education, social, build a true community for atheists. And that's what we did with the Tri-State Freethinkers in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. And we want to share that business model around the country to help groups get involved in their community. And it makes a difference. When we went to Cincinnati, I remember American Atheist Conventions past, and I was told some of the stories, like they didn't want the American Atheist Convention, where the American Atheists would have to say, we'll pay full price, just let us go. When we came to Cincinnati in Northern Kentucky, the cities wined us, dined us. What do we have to do to get your business? We want you here. Can we have lapel pins for our staff to wear that say American Atheist?
Yes!
The room rates. The rooms are beautiful at the Netherland Hilton Plaza. $250 a night. They go, how about $109? They had a 5-star restaurant where these are $100 meals. This is beautiful, but our people like to drink and have a good time. We need, $10, $20 sandwich. They go, we'll get rid of the 5-star restaurant for you, while you're here. We'll make this affordable. What else do you need? They were so accommodating, just showing the work we've done working in the community where atheist isn't a dirty word, where the community embraced us. And I'm so excited to have a community that wants us there. And we're starting to see that not in Cincinnati and other cities as well. And it's just, it's just an amazing experience to be surrounded by so many people and outside the atheist community that accept atheism.
Dude, I love that. I love that. And that means that it gives the rest of us a chance to see how it's done and then be able to copy it. And I didn't know all that stuff about the hotel.
Yeah.
Holy crap. All right, so here's the deal. Come down to the American Atheist Convention. I will see you at the bar after the last shows. Come and sit down, have a drink with me. I'd love to meet you. And then one other thing, and that is before that, here in Austin, there's going to be Atheist Day. And that's going to be on March 23rd. And I think we have a video. Oh, bummer. The video, March 23rd.
Around the world, secular groups are gathering this March to celebrate the first International Atheist Day. While we encourage atheist groups to come together and celebrate, we invite you to join us. Because lacking religion does not constitute hate.
I like
Because
him
in many
too.
parts of the
A
world,
few of those people.
disbelief
That's kind of an asshole. That's
can
a
have
bummer.
tragic consequences. Because it's time to create an international community. Because where we can be counted, we should. Stand up this March 23rd and join us as we demand to be counted.
That looks amazing.
Right?
I think I need to change my plans, and I might have to.
Dude, can we get you out here? Will you come and join us?
I think I should.
Should he come and join us? Yeah!
Yeah, it looks like an
Peer
amazing
pressure.
event.
Peer pressure.
I give in to peer pressure.
All right.
Have your people talk to my
but he
people.
doesn't
Let's
inhale.
make that happen.
All right. I think it's time to get into calls. What do you think?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Let's start with talking to Winston. Winston in Tokyo.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Winston, you're live with Eric and Jim Helton.
Thanks. Hello, Eric and Jim. I'd like to talk about something I've observed and then ask for your thoughts.
Sure.
Well, basically, I know that if you work at a suicide hotline, the first thing they tell you is to listen to the other person on the end of the phone. And when I was a teenager, I tried to talk to someone about my problems, and they wouldn't even listen to me. So they pushed me closer to suicide instead of pulling me back. And that really made me feel awful.
So, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's like going to a counselor's office to talk about why you want to kill yourself, and then having the counselor shoot you in the head as soon as you enter, so you don't even get a word out.
We talk about mental health and we talk about depression and suicide. I know that's one of those things that make us different from the atheist experience. And I've actually been getting a lot of letters recently about it. And it's, Winston, are you okay right now?
Yes, I've managed to move on a lot in the past 20 years. And I'm living a stable, happy life now.
All right. Then wanting to talk
I'm
about
glad I pushed through.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
No, then wanting to talk about it is really, really important.
Winston, are you familiar with the Secular Therapy Project?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yeah, you should Google Secular Therapy Project. They have, I know you're in Tokyo, but they also have therapists that are willing to do online talk, that go through a screening process, that are giving evidence-based solutions and helping you so that you don't get that counselor. There's nothing worse than your time of need and you get that counselor that says you need to go to church or find God to solve your problems. These have all been vetted. So,
And Winston, if you're doing okay, then this is definitely good for people who are watching. Hey, Jim, where can people go if they want to look up the Secular Therapy Project?
seculartherapy.org.
Okay. Yeah. So in the notes, I see that it says, and why believers are making the problem worse. You know, it's funny because. Go ahead.
Not just believers, but I would say pro-lifers in particular, because if you ask them, or if you if you try to tell them your problems, they'll dismiss it, or they'll say that it's not really your problem. And at that point, you pretty much feel like slapping them across the face to knock some sense into them.
Oh, dude, did you see last week's episode? I was told that things are wrong with me because I masturbate.
Yes, that's horrible.
Oh, no, it's actually wonderful. You should. Masturbation is fantastic. No,
Being told that is horrible.
I'm sitting next to Daryl Ray.
Right? Oh, man.
Wonderful.
But, yeah, it's interesting because, I keep saying This is not a thing. I'm just going to take a breath. We were up late, Jim. I blame you. We were up really late last night.
Working hard.
Playing board games. And, Winston.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me crazy when I take a look at the way churches will say, you need us, right? There's a God-shaped hole in your heart. And when people, like the person last week, would call in and say, it's because you masturbate that things are wrong, you're abusing yourself. It's a tool. It breaks your leg to sell you a crutch. And I totally get it. And I've actually been talking to people this last week. Somebody reached out and said that they were having this issue in their personal life. I'm not going to go into the details. But what we find is we have to be the better person. We have to be the one to, be empathetic, understanding, kind, and forgiving. Mm-hmm. And it's so tough, especially when you're in crisis, when you're in a place where you need the help and somebody says, well, you're broken. Here's how you do it. You go into this church and that's the reason. It's because you don't have church. You don't actually get to address the issues at hand. And potentially you could be picking up more issues in the future. People call in and they say, oh, well, what's wrong with religion? You're attacking it, but it does so much good. It does so much harm too, right? You have indoctrination. You have people who are ashamed of their sex, people who are pushed to disown their own family members. And in times of need for mental health, you have this excuse that God somehow created you broken and you just need him to fix it.
Nowhere's more apparent than that than in conversion therapy.
Yeah.
LGBTQ, where they send these kids to conversion therapy, and the result is they're 8 times more likely to commit suicide going through this therapy. And across the country, what we're seeing is bills to ban conversion therapy. And I encourage people to check on their state to support something like that. And Winston, to some of the things that you said, what concerned me is when I heard, did you say that someone told you like that wasn't a problem?
Yeah, they wouldn't even listen to me.
And it shouldn't be myself. Yeah, it shouldn't be myself or anybody telling you it's not a problem. If it's affecting you, it's a problem. If it's impacting you, it's a problem. And I encourage you, and I'm so glad you said that you're doing well. And it's obviously, you mentioned 20 years, which is an impact. But make sure you have friends you can talk to or a professional to help you through this. There are people that are here for you. There's a community here that that supports you to make sure you get the help that you need, that you're okay. And if it's impacting you, it's an issue and needs to be addressed, and no one should dismiss that.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the community, I'm proud to tell you that even though you're in Tokyo, you can absolutely get in touch with us and talk to us. If you haven't joined us on Facebook or on Reddit or on Discord, you absolutely should. We have an incredible group. I'm taking a look. We just got a $6.66 donation from someone named Guillaume, who is in Quebec, right? So I'm talking to somebody in Tokyo, with support from Quebec in Austin, Texas, right? We have volunteers all over the world, and it doesn't matter where you are. I know that we say this all the time, but this is your community. And you can reach out online, and we will reach back. I'm really proud of that.
And Winston, if you need something fun, find something you can do to relieve your stress or as an outlet. Like Eric and I played board games, and since we talked to you, we're going to play King of Tokyo this evening to relieve our stress. So have something that you can do, that helps you. For me and Eric, like we play board games.
Yep.
and that helps me. And nothing better than King in Tokyo. It's like Yahtzee, but with monsters, and you get to kill people. It's a nice stress relief.
Wow, sounds awesome.
Yeah, go pick it up.
Wow, another a $50 donation. Don't spend it all on one. Thank you, Technical Terry. We've been getting a lot. If you'd like to support us, actually, I should probably say this. I'll finish the call with Winston. Winston, thank you for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
You take care of yourself.
Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Hanford, California, Denmark, Sweden. Holy moly. You're everywhere. This is awesome. If you want to support what we do, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. Patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. It's because we are getting that support that we're able to do so much. And we love it. Thank you. Help us grow. And as always, about halfway through the episode, I'm going to be hopping onto Patreon and thanking our top 5 patrons. So I will be refreshing it during the show. So if you want to hop on and become one of our top 5 patrons, I'll be thanking you by name within the hour. That was nice.
Yeah.
I think it's time to move to a theist caller. What do you think? I like it. Let's move on to Jonathan. Jonathan in Arizona. You're talking to Eric and Jim. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. I got to see Jim speak at a secular group this morning, and it's funny because this guy that I'm sitting, playing board games with yesterday sits down and he can just fire up a room so quickly when it comes to local boots on the ground activism. It blows my mind, man. So I'm happy to be sitting next to Jim and talking to you, Jonathan. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I called a few times it was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think I called, but got you guys at the very end of the show and told you I would try to call back as soon as I could. Mm-hmm. And, it was, we had the conversation that was pretty detailed on the existence of objective morality and stuff. And Matt was in the audience and said to call the Atheist Experience, and then he would go over some more information with me, which I did. And what essentially he said was, if we agree on well-being, being like the primary factor, then yeah, we can make objective assessments on reaching that goal of well-being, which makes perfect sense. But I'm still, I've always been hung up on the subjective connotation of that. So to me, I still can't understand why it's not subjective, even if we all agree on what we believe is moral. And I still can't get around that.
Well, let's kind of have a bit of a thought experiment. Maybe I can help. I think last time we talked, I had said that I think in the moment you can't really get to objective morality, but you can armchair quarterback your way to it, right? You can look back at it and take a look at the circumstances. So let's say you have circumstance X, right? And you have so many options, right? It is limited. It is finite. You can't just fly into the air like Neo. There are so many things that you can do in a given moment. So if we agree on the objective, right, the objective part of the objective morality, and tease out those different actions, you can come to a most preferable one. And at that time, you can say that that is the objectively most moral thing to do, right? Or by that standard, right? You may not get that chance in the moment. Well, most of the time you won't. But it's funny because people don't expect it, right? Jonathan, if you're in a super stressful circumstance and you do the best that you do, most of the time people will say, you know what, they did the best that they could. I mean, I don't know where you would need to go from there. Is there some part of it that is holding you up? I know that it might seem uncomfortable thinking that we are limited to subjective experience, but we are, right? I have my eyes and I can't tell, whether or not what I'm seeing is true. I do my best by confirming with other people, right? But my sense perception is mine. We just do the best we can.
Yeah, and still, that does make sense. And for me, it's not a matter of comfort. It's just a matter of what is true. And if we can say that human well-being is the objective goal,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can make assessments on what is objective to reaching that goal. It seems by using that reason, we could actually say that human suffering, we could make that a goal and make objective assessments on how to make that moral.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's really fun to do that in Dungeons and Dragons. I've played D&D. I'm a really big nerd, Jonathan. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a really big nerd. And in D&D, you can play a character with a different moral alignment and a different moral code. And so what they choose as moral may not be human well-being. It might be what is in service to their deity, right? And those kinds of paladins can be wild. And it ranks as moral to them.
And if we look at evidence-based solutions, when people are trying to do it from a religious point of view of this is my morality, and we can look at it to say, is this helping people or hurting people? You're doing this based on dogma, not evidence. These issues, like when I talked about ban conversion therapy, you're hurting children. This is not a good thing. This is not moral. Is what you're doing educating people in sex? Is this helping children or hurting them? Comprehensive sex, that's helping them. So we can clearly make these distinctions on the choices we make, the legislation we pass. Is this helping people or hurting them? And then analyze accordingly. A lot of these issues that we think are complicated aren't. People just don't like the answers. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Like, we know what our problems are. We know what the solutions are. You just don't like the answer because a specific dogma might say you can't do this, but it's very clear what should be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that does make sense. And it's not for me personally, it's not a matter of I don't like the answer. It could definitely be that I'm not convinced of the answer, but whether I like it or not is not relative to me on whether I believe it's true.
Okay.
And
so what's the stumbling block? Maybe I'm missing the point.
Well, I guess what is I guess as you put a stumbling block is the only way that it is objectively true that rape is objectively immoral is if the person uses well-being as a source of objective morality. But if they don't, then raping somebody is not immoral.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't believe that.
Well, but you can see it in practice, right? You can look back. I mean, you can open up the Bible and find in the Old Testament, God saying, go in and kill all of the men, all the women who've known children, all the women who've known men, all the children, and keep the young women who have not known men to yourself. They're yours to do with what you want. And you see that in militaries going throughout human history, right? People going in and freeing a city and then tormenting the people, right? It's not nice. I wish we didn't live in that world. But to the best of my knowledge, that's the one we live in. Isn't it, right?
So, do you agree with what I'm saying, though? That if a person doesn't view human well-being as what is objectively moral, then if they do something that causes human suffering, they're not really doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything immoral because they don't use that standard that you and I might use.
Well, it's funny. We're social creatures, right? We're kind of held to the moral standards that we create, and we put those into laws, and we enforce those socially.
And that's all. That's all true. I understand that, but when it comes to what is objectively true, what is true regardless of our opinion.
Well, then we can't have access there, Jonathan. I mean, let's zoom out just a little bit and talk about truth, right? I like to talk about it. You're saying objectively true, but I think I talk about it as capital T truth. And we're never going to know what capital T truth is because we're never going to get there. And our methods of doing it won't actually prove it. We can disprove as much as we can and try and know as many false things as we can, but we actually can't get to that capital T truth. We're at lowercase t truth. And so we're doing our best. What if, cosmically, the most moral thing to do would be, for other species to see Earth wiped out? And by all metrics, that's the right thing. That would be capital T truth if that was the case, and yet we don't have access to it. We're limited to what we have. And so we have to do the best we can with what we have, right? I mean, in those cases, you can't necessarily determine with a capital T what the truth of that objective, is. We just do the best we can.
And some of this is common sense, Jonathan. I mean, I have children, and at a very early age, they knew not to steal or to hurt people. They don't have a philosophical degree. They don't, they weren't indoctrinated in religion. You can use some common sense and just to these things that it's common sense. Like raping somebody is not good. It hurts people. And it's a pretty simple.
Well, and hurting people is really the key there. Because rape socially has not always been something that we as a society have looked out for. And it's something that we in 2019 are still working on fixing, right? But the hurt of another person, when you identify and you grant somebody else's humanity, then you actually are biologically inclined to not do it, right? We have things called mirror neurons. We have all of these different biological pieces that lend themselves to us being social. So kind of everywhere along that path, we are biased toward building those communities rather than breaking them down.
So are you saying that being social is somehow relevant to morality?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So, if somebody, this is just a disgusting thought, but if somebody was into bestiality, and it was just a person having sex with an animal, is there anything moral or immoral about that action?
Well, it's interesting. We have since gotten better. We've moved past what our biological pieces are, right? The rape is actually a perfect example of that. It's not just about pain, it's about autonomy. It's about express consent. And
do you think that animal can consent?
Exactly.
Do you think a person can consent to such a thing?
We don't qualify animals as things that can give consent. And so in that way, we can say that is not a moral action because you're inflicting something on something that cannot consent to it.
Just like a child at underage can't consent.
Yeah.
Even if they say yes, they can't legally consent because...
Right. 17 years old, but doesn't matter. Yes, true enough. We call that statutory rape, though, and that is rape. We have to draw the line somewhere, and it doesn't matter how arbitrary it may seem, because in the end, it's always going to be arbitrary. We just do the best we can with the lines we draw. But again, we're coming back to the same thing. We do the best we can.
Yeah. And I agree with that, too. We do the best we can.
Jonathan, look at it this way. Look at it this way. In 200 years, I hope, and I have good reason to believe that the society that's going to live after we die will be so much more moral than us, because they'll have had the time to work those things out. We still have a long way to go. I hope that they're not doing those things 200 years from now. I hope they're working on something at a higher level. That's awesome. We're getting closer to it.
I'm curious, what leads you to believe that would be the case 2 generations from now? I mean, obviously, rape existed 2,000 years ago, and it still exists today. So what do you think will change in the next 2 years?
Well, what you do is you take a look at the available evidence, right? How would you think that we have evolved morally in the last decade, 20 years? You know, I put on an old episode of Frasier and then cringe when you see all of the jokes that flew then but don't fly now. It's funny. We're advancing by leaps and bounds. Go back to the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the way they treated women, the way they treated minorities, the way that they moved forward and only took what a very small minority had to say and took away the rights, privileges, the consent of so many other people. We're getting better, aren't we, Jonathan? I mean...
And look at the way we used to teach consent. We used to teach consent as a man. I have the ability to do whatever I want with a woman until she tells me no, and it's her responsibility to tell me no. Now we teach consent as a person. It's not a man and a woman. It's as a person, I should not do anything to another individual until they consent yes. It is my responsibility to get a yes. It is not that person's responsibility to tell me no.
Yeah.
And just because they give me consent, they can take it away at any time and tell me no, and then it's my responsibility to immediately stop. You know, we teach consent much differently. We've gotten much smarter about these things and learning from these things.
And just that is at such a high level, Jonathan. Within our great-grandparents' lifetimes, they were deciding whether or not white people and black people can drink at the same water fountain. I think that's pretty badass. I think we should collectively give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back. We got more work to do, but it's better. I think the available evidence points to it.
Yeah, and that could very well be. And honestly, I think we both hope that that's the case.
Yeah.
So the only way morality is objective is if, like, we agree that human well-being is the goal. Then we can make objective assessments on whether or not we've achieved that goal or reached that goal, stuff like that.
What do you think, Jonathan? Do you subscribe to that? Do you ascribe to that, or do you look at morality differently?
Well, I do agree that if you create an objective and call it moral, you can make objective assessments on reaching that goal, whatever it is. Like I said, like you could say human suffering is the goal, and obviously that would be something you could make assessments on how to reach that. Mm-hmm. But would it be actually moral or immoral, regardless of what we actually believe about it? That's where I'm hung up. I believe that murder is wrong, regardless of what anybody's opinion of murder is. Whether they think it's right or wrong, to me, is irrelevant. I think murder is wrong, no matter what anybody says about it. And I think the same thing about rape. And I think anybody who is not, a psychopath, would agree that rape is wrong, no matter what time, situation, belief system, whatever. Rape is wrong, always. Always has been, always will be.
Without hesitation, I agree with you and recognize the benefit and the privilege of looking at that now. Because that wasn't always the case in human history.
I don't understand.
You don't understand. I'm going to turn to the Bible. I'm going to turn to the Bible, right? Because in the Bible, if a woman is raped, she becomes the property of her rapist, right? It's a property crime, not a crime against another human being, one that you need to repay the owner of that property, the father of the girl.
$50.
Yeah.
And then marry her. Then force marriage for that. And that was the morality of the Bible back in the day.
And you're saying, but what I said was, like, we all know that rape is wrong at all times.
We do. Do you think they did? If they knew that rape was wrong at that degree, why wouldn't they have just said rape is wrong and instead said, hey, you've committed a crime against another person by defiling his property, pay him $50?
And as a society, we don't. And this, Jonathan, this isn't just back then.
No, I understand, but you kind of answered your own question there. I think you said, "Hey, this is a crime," which infers that it's wrong.
But no, let me address, Jonathan. Let me just cut you off for a second. But in other countries, if a woman is raped, she can be prosecuted by having sex before marriage. Like, it's her fault. She has been put to death.
That happens now.
That happens now, today, in countries doing this.
We're agreeing with you that it's wrong, Jonathan.
Right, no, I understand that. But are you suggesting that the man who raped the woman didn't know rape was wrong?
I'm saying that in a situation where you live in a country and are told that women are not humans that deserve to have their autonomy respected, and that's where you come from, maybe. Then again, I haven't been in the mind of those people, and I really haven't taken the time to study that culture. So at this point, I'm going to have to say that I need to stop because I'm now in a place of ignorance, and I don't want to talk out of my ass.
And asking what
so that's my best.
Asking what somebody else thinks is we don't know what somebody else is thinking when they do such a thing.
Right, and I understand that. But just a second ago, you said that people didn't think rape was wrong when you quoted the Bible reference. So you were saying what somebody thought regarding the Bible, but not.
But they wrote it down.
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking me what somebody thought that did something's very different than me reading saying, oh, if this happens, here's what you do. This is the Bible. This is our morality. That's easy to quote because they freaking wrote it and he just read it.
If somebody shoots up an office and doesn't say anything, then you can be, what was the reason? But if that person, released a manifesto saying this is the reason, okay.
Okay, let me try. Yeah, I don't want to misinterpret anything or anything like that.
Sure.
So, do you think that it's possible for somebody to rape somebody and not believe that when they're raping somebody, they're doing something wrong outside of a psychopath?
I think people can use religion or anything to justify anything.
That's not what I asked, though. Do you think
that answers it? It's just
that they're doing something wrong. Do they know that if they commit rape, they're doing something wrong?
Jonathan, how about we ask that question together? I'm friends with the hosts of Secular Sexuality, and they actually have a therapist there who specializes in that subject. Let's take a look at that show and go to where some experts are and ask them.
Let's look at parents who kill their children for God.
Yeah, that's true. They justify the murder by saying that God
they're
told them
helping their kids. Like, because they're going to heaven, they do the most heinous acts possible as a parent, and they think they're doing good. They think it's in their interest.
Isn't it?
Parents send their kids to conversion therapy because they think they're helping them.
Yeah, you get anti-vax parents,
see
right?
Some of the most heinous acts that people are able to justify because they think it's for the greater good.
But let's
right, and obviously, you guys and myself, we all know that that's wrong. But okay, so I can't really use like the murder, murder your children because you believe that God wants you to. I've never heard of anybody who's like raped somebody because they believe that God wanted them to. So it's not really a fair comparison.
Oh yeah, it is. Absolutely. Hold on a second. We have a rich history of cults here in the United States. Number one, the Mormon Church. Joseph Smith was on record as saying that if he didn't do what he did, he was going to be punished by God. Right? You have Jim Jones. You have, I mean, go up the list. Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, there's Oklahoma representative says God uses rape and incest to bring babies into the world.
Mm-hmm.
That was a quick Google search, right?
No, that was a quick Google search. Like, I'm just at the top of the list. I can go down this rabbit hole, like.
People absolutely can justify that and think that they're not doing anything wrong. I just got there. It took me a second. I didn't want to jump in until I thought about it, but I'm still going to take it to the host of Secular Sexuality because I could be wrong. But Jonathan, I think this has been a good talk, but we've been on this for a while. I want to get to a few other callers. I hope this has been enlightening or fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I always enjoy talking to you as well, Eric. I think this might be the fourth time that we have talked. But just, I don't feel like the last question I asked was really addressed.
Okay.
Is it okay if I it just for clarification?
Yeah, ask it, and then we'll end, and we'll answer it off the air, and then we can communicate online in the meantime and see where we can go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
So, do you believe that somebody can rate somebody and not believe that they're doing something wrong? And I'll specifically say outside of religion.
Outside of
like
religion.
Somebody who, say if the world was completely secular.
To the best of my knowledge, yeah. I'm open to. I'm open to.
You asked a yes or no question. We gave you an answer of yes.
Yeah,
it is possible.
I'm open to learning differently.
Wish it wasn't so, but
yeah, to the best of my knowledge, yeah.
Okay, so that person doesn't know that being raped, that something wrong is happening to himself.
It's a matter of privilege.
Yeah.
You've seen this in medieval times where somebody was going to get married, and it was the knights or the king's authority to be able to have sex with that woman. They thought it was their privilege.
Ooh, prima nocta.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were doing this, and they thought it was their privilege. They didn't think it was wrong. They thought it was their privilege as a noble person to be able to do this thing.
What about prima
so
nocta?
if the situation was flipped on that person and they were the ones who were being raped, you don't think that they would know that something was wrong?
I think they would change their opinion fairly quickly, but they don't look at it that way because they come from a place of privilege.
Take a look at our politics today. You can very quickly see a lot of examples of people unable to empathize and put themselves in the shoes of another. If they did, we wouldn't have the issues of, people removing LGBTQ rights all over the United States. We wouldn't have issues of people removing access to affordable women's health care, right, all over the United States. It's because of that inability to connect.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying, though. All righty, man. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, you guys take care.
All right, you too. What'd you think of that?
Talked about rape a lot.
We did. I feel kind of, yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
I think we could have used some other examples every now and then. So I appreciate Jonathan calling in. I appreciate his, going through these intellectual exercises, but a few other examples might help just a little bit.
Yeah, and I understand the discomfort of thinking that we can't appeal to that capital T truth when it comes to decision making. That's rough. That is really, really rough. And that absolutely gave me pause for a really long time. So let's move on. We've got another caller from Japan. Wow. Edgar in Japan. You're talking to Eric and Jim. How's it going?
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you came in really loud, but we have the best audio engineers on the planet, and they fixed it like that.
Maybe I'm too near from my...
No. Keep talking the same way, or else the adjustment's going to get real weird. So, what do you want to talk about?
Well, the reason why I'm calling you here, because I would like to tell you that intelligence has already been discovered by me.
I've discovered intelligence today
Good for
in
you.
This room. I met intelligent people in this amazing live studio audience. Hi, live studio audience.
You will never get it. You don't understand me.
Okay. Let's try again.
When Michael B. he fought in the double trial, he never used the word intelligence against evolution. He just used complexity, irreducible complexity. And supposed to be, he will be using the word intelligence to fight evolution. But he doesn't know. He did not know the definition of intelligence, and nobody knows.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
My pedantic flag popped up, and I know that if I don't address this with you, Edgar, I am not going to be able to go through the rest of this conversation. You said nobody knows the definition of intelligence, right?
Correct.
Intelligence is a word that we have created that represents a concept. And when we use the word intelligence, it's because we're trying to relay that concept in conversation. And so the way we've defined intelligence is, I think Jim's actually Googling it.
I was going to say Google knows, Webster knows.
I mean, if you have a different definition of intelligence, that's okay. But to say no one knows the definition of intelligence is just weird.
Yeah, it's weird. You are correct. Yeah, and
Okay,
remember,
I'm glad we agree.
Yeah, the reason why I agree with you, because the one who researched the definition of intelligence, we have 70 now, right now, 70. We have 70 research definition of intelligence as published in archive.org. And the one who said that, if you could search the name of Shane Legg on YouTube, he said that the topic of intelligence is very difficult and nobody can nail it. And there is a reason for that. In other words, can you hear me?
I can. I'm just trying to follow. You're saying that nobody can nail down intelligence. I don't think they're talking about the definition of intelligence, because in the context that you're talking about, what I've heard is, how do we, determine when something is intelligent versus not intelligent? How,
or can somebody know everything or be all knowing?
Yeah, where on the spectrum are those things? Is that what you're talking about?
What I'm trying to say to you is that we have 70 definitions of intelligence right now. One word. In English language, we have a lot of the word that has multiple meanings, but intelligence has 70. And there's a reason
Edgar,
for that.
I asked you a question.
Yes.
And instead you repeated the thing you said before I asked the question. So I have a feeling that you didn't listen and you just waited to say the same thing again. Would you like me to restate the question?
Can you ask, please? What is your question?
The question was, I had prefaced by saying, in my experience, people have, when they're talking about nailing down intelligence, they're talking about a spectrum where they're trying to determine, what is intelligent and what is not intelligent, right? And so at what level, right? Like if you were to look at different animals, we can clearly see that the social behavior of dolphins and the social behavior of elephants has been something that we've linked to intelligence, and we've claimed it to be that. But where on the animal hierarchy do we stop saying that a thing is intelligent, right? There's that spectrum. Is that what you're talking about, that spectrum, and nailing it down?
No, that's the problem in our biology today, because we don't have a dividing line between intelligence to non-intelligence.
Okay, so we are on the right track. Okay.
Yeah, we're on the right track.
And so you said you've nailed it down, and you've done that by creating a new definition of intelligence.
Of course, the reason why I said that I nailed it down and I discovered it, because through experiment, we can test the word intelligence as we normally use that, especially in the school. We normally use the word intelligence in school to teach by our teachers. So if we use experiment for that, we can nail it so easily.
No, you can't.
No, I did.
No, well, that's...
Yes, I did.
You did. So you're saying that a word that we created to define a thing, right, that has a constantly... Because that's how words work, right? They change over time. And that becomes the actual definition as our society uses those things. You're saying you use the scientific method to test the definition of a word and then came up with a different definition that no one knows, which is already not how words work. You discovered it using science. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. The reason why I said that I discovered it, because we have
two different definitions of intelligence.
We have 70 definitions of intelligence.
Okay. So let's cut to the chase. What's your definition of intelligence, and why is it useful?
Okay.
Why do I care? Why should I care? Why did you call the show?
I will give you both the intelligence and non-intelligence so that you could understand. First, intelligence. The simplest definition of intelligence is problem, solution. Okay.
What?
So.
Okay. What is the definition of intelligence?
Non-intelligence. I will give you non-intelligence.
Hold on. We're gonna compare that with
the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills.
Okay. So problem, solution. On one hand, the ability to acquire knowledge and skills. On the other hand, as possible definitions for the word intelligence. I'm going to take the latter. But Is there a point to this? Is there a
Now,
reason
when
why
I do
it ties
type
into
in
religion?
non-intelligence in Google Images, we get some interesting things.
I think we might get sued for that. I can't. Nope.
Can I continue? Can I continue?
First tell me why.
Got
I
distracted
don't.
in his definition.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know how this has anything to do with atheism.
No, wait. There is, because the reason why you are an atheist or people doesn't believe in God, because you don't know intelligence. You don't know if a particle or a cell or life is intelligent design. You don't know that.
Well, hold on,
you don't know
Edgar.
about intelligence.
You said this is why atheists are atheists. Jim.
That's a pretty big claim.
Is that why you're an atheist?
No, the why I'm an atheist is very different than why you are, or probably there's people in this room if we would ask them. That's a pretty big claim to be making.
What do you think, live studio audience? Is that what convinced you to be an atheist? No. Well, you might need to hit the drawing board again, Edgar.
No, what I said, if you are going to use science, is that the reason why you reject that life or in universe are designed intelligently, because you don't know about the topic of intelligence.
Hold on.
We were not taught. We didn't use.
I think he just waited for us to talk to keep going. Edgar, number one, the definition's weird and not really very useful. Number two, you made a statement about all atheists that is not true. Yes, this is anecdotal, but I can use anecdotal evidence when you're talking about all or nothing, right? You said all atheists. I just gave you about 24 who disagree, so you definitely can't use the all or nothing. But at this point, I really don't think that the conversation is helpful, because I don't know how it can affect us if you're bringing it up as a rebuttal that nobody brought up to you. Right? You're saying that atheists are atheists because they don't know the difference between what is intelligent and what is not intelligent. We just took a quick poll. That's not the case here. We're atheists, so we're in the subset that you labeled. All fall under that. Right?
Yeah, it's simple. It's the reason why many people, all people who reject God as an intelligent designer, because you don't know the word intelligence. What is the definition of it? Because if you
that's not why people are atheists, and we just checked that. No, Edgar.
The reason why
you're talking to one, Edgar. Why don't you ask me? Or do you not believe me and you're just going to put the thought in my head that I have to believe this because you said so? Is that how this is going to go? Ask me. Hey, Eric, why are you an atheist?
Eric,
are you an atheist?
Why are you an atheist?
Not for that reason. Hey, we're solved. I'm sorry I'm raising my voice, Edgar, but it is incredibly demeaning and rude to put words in other people's mouths like that. This entire time I'm listening to you and asking clarifying questions because I'm trying to be as generous as I can to what you're saying, and I'm trying to operate with what you're saying. But why are you not giving me the same measure of respect?
No, I'm respecting all the people.
Okay, so ask me, Eric,
the truth is,
why are you an atheist for this reason? Because you just made a claim about me, right? Ask me. Well, that's a little mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Edgar, I reject it, and because you're saying all atheists, I'm rejecting the claim. Come back when you have revised it, and we'll see if it works. All right, take care. All right. Right? A little different this time, isn't it? You know, Jamie, Ryan, me chewing on my chair and angry. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy you're here. Good. We're doing this. All right. Let's see. Nick in Wisconsin. You're talking to Eric and Jim. How's it going?
Good. How you doing? Doing
all right. How about you, Jim?
Hey. I'm doing wonderful. Love Google Images.
If only we could, Google image search non-intelligence, and you'll see what Jim saw. We can't show you because reasons.
I put no intelligence. Non-intelligence is a little different.
Go ahead,
No
Nick.
intelligence was much better, by the way.
Okay, well, for once, I've talked to you before, and I'm not talking about me right now. I'm talking about an actual topic, and it's a sensitive one. and I want to preface a couple things. First of all, we're three guys talking about, about to talk about abortion, okay? And just the way it is. But
Why?
what I want to do is...
Why? Why would you do that? Why?
The reason I want to do that is because I want to give a secular argument for being pro-life, or predominantly pro-life anyway. And that's...
So, Jim, you know that sterling career at American Atheists?
What's that?
Jim's about to... We're about to embroil in something that... that's good.
The reason I called because I was watching on YouTube and I saw Matt and Tracy, talking about the exact same thing. Then they gave an argument that I had never thought of before.
Okay.
So I was thinking about it. And, but the thing is, I have dinner plans today with an old friend I haven't seen in 2 years. So
well,
I'm not going to, be at the show.
I'm afraid I may disappoint you. I feel like talking to them, they've put a ton of thought into it, but we'll do our best. I'll do my best. I know I may rely on Jim more because Jim is amazing when it comes to this subject. So you might be the resource here. But Nick, what is your, let's quit beating around the bush. What is your argument against abortion in a secular, your secular argument against abortion?
Okay, I'm completely open-minded, okay? But what I'm saying is, first of all, the argument that they gave on Atheist Experience is that, individual bodily autonomy. And I had never thought of that before, okay?
Okay.
Something is living in your body, using your body, that you didn't want to be there. Okay. Now, what I'm thinking is that when doctors consider you brain dead, you're legally dead.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking is when you're brain alive, you're legally alive. And what I'm thinking is, first of all, what holds a higher say? Individual bodily autonomy, right to that, or right to just be alive? And let me make it clear, too, that before you're brain alive, I mean, like in the first trimester, completely your choice. But then after that, there are other things involved. And I mean, because now you have something that's actually conscious and can feel pain.
Eric, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah. Or are you me or Nick?
I'm sorry, Nick. Sorry.
Yeah, Jim's going to hop in. He's.
Were you religious at one time?
What's that?
Were you religious at one time?
I was at one time, yes.
Okay.
And, that's where I started. But, now I really tried to come up with a secular argument for it. Because I know you can't make laws based on the Bible.
So, but it sounds like you just said something concerning. Like you grew up religious, you had this preconceived idea abortion's bad, and now you're coming with the answer, and you're trying to come up with secular solutions to justify your answer. You're going about this backwards. Instead of just saying, I want to know the truth, I want to learn about this issue no matter where it takes me. You're trying to find things to justify your already position. So there's the first problem I have. The second problem is, and I'll ask you this honestly, do you think that religion should dictate our medical choices or doctors and professionals?
Okay, for answer the second question, absolutely not. Not at all.
Okay. Well, because the medical association, if you look at the medical list of people that support abortion and access to, it is medical professions and experts in their field. Religion is imposing it and trying to pass legislation all across the country, which is harming women. That right there should be. What else do you need?
What else do I need?
Meaning, if you don't want the church to dictate legislation, that's exactly what they're doing, and you're ignoring the medical profession, which you said shouldn't happen for any medical decisions. That's what this whole thing is. That's
okay. You're. I think you're kind of like putting me into a religious box right now because I used to be a hardcore theist. I'm not anymore, and but I still believe in, and that's
But if you're not, then
you say that
then why are you not supporting the medical professionals and experts in this field, and you're still supporting the religious organizations in this argument?
I'm supporting the argument because, it's logically consistent, I think, that if you're brain dead, you're legally dead. If you're brain alive, you're alive. You're legally alive.
Where this actually takes me, Nick, is a really interesting story of how we came up with the rules and the laws about what constitutes life, right? Because the American Supreme Court needed to listen to arguments about what constitutes life and where to draw lines legally when it comes to abortion. And medical technology, the ability for us to have children earlier and earlier in pregnancy, right, have preemies and be able to save them, is kind of butting up against those definitions. That is an interesting topic, but I would say that, the line that we have legally was come up by our Supreme Court trying to use the best evidence that they had available. I would look into it. The brain alive, brain dead thing is completely separate from whether or not it affects a woman's autonomy. And I think that we need to look at all of these, yes, I understand that, but together we need to look at them too. What is the importance of brain activity, right? Can we take that and put that out to animals, right? Would we feel the same way about artificial life, right? That's a definition that, you can work with and see if that works, but I don't think I have the time on the show to kind of flesh that out.
And the one
what
thing
its ramifications
I'll have you look at is what most medical definitions go by, or what they're looking at, and what most laws are passed on is viability of the fetus outside of the woman by itself, not through technology, but is the fetus viable without the woman? And when you see these time frames, that's what they're going by, not by a heartbeat that they may be able to determine, not by a brainwave. It is viability.
And
I think that you're
and honestly, I've got to say, Nick, I feel real uncomfortable about being three dudes talking about abortion because you have a question, and the thing is that I think that if we had Jen or Tracy in here talking about it, I think the very real issue that you and I and Jim aren't readily bringing up is you're talking about me too, right? We're talking about actual people with actual autonomy. And so
I will absolutely call back next week when I have time.
Can I ask you a few other questions in all sincerity? I mean, is this a position you have that are you open to learning about this issue, or is this like you're really trying to research why pro-life is right, or are you willing to learn about this issue?
No, I'm absolutely willing to learn about any issue.
One of the things I would recommend for you is, if not as a debate, because they would not be interested in this, but contact Planned Parenthood. Go to one of their educational things. Talk to them, not as a debate of why you're right, but listen to the women. Listen to them tell their stories. Listen to the people that are affected by this issue and learn. I learned. I've been surrounded by Planned Parenthood, the women of Planned Parenthood. I changed my views. I grew up religious on a lot of topics. And don't go there to debate. Don't go there to tell them why they're wrong. That will go poorly for you. But if you honestly go there to listen to their stories, I think as an intelligent, rational person, listen to women. That's the best thing I can tell you.
Cheers.
No, absolutely. But, and
no buts.
Well,
no. Listen to women.
Well, let's say and. Don't say but. Say and. You're not that way. You're not invalidating the first statement.
Okay. Sorry. That was I misspoke. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, let's say. Here's the thing. Yes, I have opinions on this subject. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys 3 questions, and just yes or no, and then we can go from there. Okay.
Hold on. I'm trying to keep an eye on the timing for the show. Let me see. We're at 14 minutes.
We can make this really quick if you want.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try and do the nutshell version so we can get to other callers too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kind of like I think it's kind of a parallel. Have either of you ever served in Iraq?
No.
Do you have an opinion on the Iraq War?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a very informed one.
I tell you both. What the hell? Why the hell do you have an opinion if it hasn't affected you?
Well, let me ask. My opinion,
and that's,
my opinion on Iraq and my ability to pass legislation and dictate happens there, not being well informed, is very, very different.
Yeah, and to be honest,
I have an opinion on a lot of things, but I would not legislate them. I am not an expert. I would consult the experts to make those decisions.
Yeah, I have no freaking clue, man. And because I have no freaking clue, I'm probably going to say, like I did in this, in my response to you, I'm not really well informed. I mean, I've got some ideas, but those ideas really aren't even specific to Iraq. It's about war in general. So even then, no.
Hey, you know what? Fair enough. And I could be wrong, and I always say that. So,
geez, I made a hand motion that looked very empathetic, and it goes blocks, so now I look really smug. Hold on a second. Go ahead, Nick. I'm having issues.
No, sorry. No. I said, fair enough, and I understand what you're saying, and that's just something I always thought of when I just give an opinion about abortion. I know it's a hot topic. I know that, and I only really talk about it close friends and apparently strangers on the radio. But
and they're amazing fans.
Yes, but no, I understand that, but it's like when people tell me that I have no right to this because I've never experienced it, then I said, so why do you have an opinion on this? Because you've never experienced it.
Well,
do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and I think that shutting down a conversation and not having it means that you don't know if you have the right answer.
And I never shut a conversation down.
Yeah, and so while I would say that, I'd also say though that you need to recognize your own bias to be able to be objective, and recognizing that you as a man don't have the same life experience that would inform some of these decisions that are incredibly important would definitely bias your results. And so
absolutely
adjusting
I understand that.
Adjusting to and correcting for that is really important. I think Jim's
I got one more thing.
Was perfect, spot on.
I've only listened to my dad twice in my life, and this is some advice he gave me that I'll remember forever. And one of the things when I was arguing with him about a subject, kind of like this, he says, "Why in the hell are you talking to me? You're not asking my opinion. You're telling me yours and trying to convince me why you're right. And if you're asking me about a subject, why don't you talk to the experts? If you want an expert opinion, talk to the experts." Like, I love people calling in, but Eric and I talking about abortion is not the do-all answer of where to go. Like, go, if you want to have honest conversations and you want to learn on any subject, go to the experts.
Mm-hmm. Cheers.
Well, absolutely.
I can have an opinion, but my opinion is not near as much as going to the experts. And in this case, when it comes to abortion, Planned Parenthood is the experts in this topic. If you want to go on any subject, go to the experts.
Yeah. And if you want to hear non-expert opinions that I hold very highly, there's this small show called The Atheist Experience, and there are clips you can find on YouTube of Jen and Tracy actually going into some really great detail about it.
Well, that's where where I got this idea. I was watching this earlier this morning. Yeah, so,
But
hopefully that helped a bit. I mean,
And it's good to talk about these things and rationally, because you always don't have access to the experts to walk through these. So we want people to call in. We want to talk to you. But at the same time, when we're making some of these arguments, we really need to look, towards the experts on them. So.
Cheers.
And guys, I really didn't want to put you on the spot or anything. I just wanted to talk. And
yeah, you did.
And like I said,
but it's okay. That's what we're here for.
I don't want to talk about abortion, at dinner. So yeah.
Well, we talked about rape for breakfast, so...
oh, gosh. Yeah, this has been one hell of an episode,
what's the next one?
Yeah.
What haven't we...
This is what keeps me up at night. That I go, yeah,
are there any other women's issues I shouldn't be talking about that we can hit for the next caller? Can we just find that and make sure we hit the trifecta before I go?
Actually, I don't think it was Nick. I think it was the person before who called in about veganism.
I like that.
Jim's a vegan. I know.
I'm a vegetarian. My daughter would not claim that I'm a vegan. I am very
vegetarian. Nick, I'm sorry, not to you, but just real right. Yeah.
No problem, guys. I'll let you go.
Nick, you take care. Have a good one, man. And
I try to be respectful, you guys.
I appreciate you calling in. Thank you, Nick. And I hope you take up my suggestion.
All right. That was good. That was good. I think we might have navigated it.
We'll see.
Navigated it. I said that. Okay.
I'll check the comments on YouTube after this episode, and we'll see how we did.
Hey, all right. Let's go with Patrick in Missouri. Patrick, you're live with Eric and Jim.
Hi.
Hi.
You guys.
Kind of
Depends
weird.
on what this next subject or question is.
Kind of weird.
Okay. Well, I'm glad, Jim. I'm so glad that you're here on the show. I've been watching the show now for about 3 months. I've been a closeted atheist for very many years. I own a business in a town that is very religious. It's the seat of a diocese, and I own a bar and restaurant. My wife and I do. And
Did you send an email to us?
Yeah, I did.
So I was absolutely packed, but I think I was able to read like the first paragraph or so. I'm actually glad you called because it was interesting. I just didn't have the time.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I'll be honest with you. I'm using not my real name, and I don't want to get into a lot of details about this.
That's good. You don't even have to use your real state. You're good. But go ahead.
No, well, if you read parts of the email, here's my issue. I came to be an atheist over a long, long road. It's not something that happens overnight, of course. I've owned this business for 20 years now, and my wife and I, we have 20 employees, 11 of which are full-time, and we provide them with health care benefits and things of that nature. I've come to a moral dilemma, and Jim, I think you probably, for your long, long association with the atheist community in this country, you might have known people that are in my same situation. I really want to get involved with the local atheist, humanist community. I know those things are not mutually the same, but I feel like that if I do that, how much business are we going to lose? 10%, 20%? And that money we use that to help other people. And that's my quandary. And this is something that's been bothering me for, I don't know, a couple of months now. And for the longest time, I just said, well,
Yeah.
My close friends know my feelings. My close friends that I know that they won't use that against me. But I'm just afraid, we can't go there because the guy that owns that place, he's an atheist. So
the answer to your question is depends, and what your comfort level is and what you want to do. And getting involved in a community does not mean you have to be on TV talking about atheism. There are things you can do to support the organization financially. There are things you can do behind the scenes to support the community. And the other, so I would say, yes, you can get involved. At some level, it probably shouldn't be that big of a deal. If you're going on TV protesting the Ark Encounter and doing a business saying, I'm Bob from Bob's Bar and Grill, and I'm an atheist and, religion sucks, that's probably going to hurt your business. But just being part of a community is not a big deal. The other thing is, when people are in your business, you don't say, hey, I'm an atheist and talk about atheism. You do your job. But at the same time, we tell people we don't deny it, and we make sure when they experience an atheist, it's the most pleasurable, best experience they've ever had. I go to Mississippi, Indiana, Alabama, some of the most conservative religious organizations, wearing atheist t-shirt, introducing myself with American Atheist, and I rarely get negative pushback or feedback, and I make sure it's a pleasurable experience for them.
Absolutely.
Even when I'm getting restaurant, gas, anywhere, I want them to understand.
And if you can't be an out atheist in your community, which it sounds like that would be a pretty rough decision for you, like he said, the organizations that you can join can be very cognizant of it. Right here at the ACA, there are times we take pictures of people being, active and all of that, but we always ask, hey, are you out to your friends and family? Are you okay with a picture being taken of you? Because we don't want to be the reason somebody got outed. And there are people who say, oh, actually, I don't want to be in the picture. And they kind of pop out, we take the picture, and then they go back to it, right? There are things like that you can absolutely do and be involved. It's just communication. It's a communication. Make sure you're talking to the event organizers and say, hey, I want to be involved. I just can't be out there for
and even just a regular picture. It's also, you don't have to be out in the spotlight, but you don't have to hide.
Yes.
And I think that's a big difference where a lot of people get confused of, do you have to hide versus being, just be yourself and do your thing. If you want to go to the potluck, go to the potluck. If you want to hear a speaker talk, go hear the speaker talk. There's no reason you can't be associated with them. If they're doing a very visible protest or event, then you have to make a decision. But also, if our communities get involved in things like sex education, LGBTQ equal rights issues, you shouldn't be embarrassed to be supporting them because there's probably clergy supporting those issues too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stand where you are with those. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. That helps. I mean,
Yay.
Last year we hosted the first Pride Night in our community.
Fantastic.
And
Nice.
Yeah. And we did it again this year. And I haven't seen any drop, although I know that there are some people that come into the establishment that are very, very narrow-minded when it comes to people and their sexuality. Mm-hmm. But I'm at this point. I think I feel like I want to help more. I do donate to the local community. We help them out. We give like gift cards when they have fundraisers and things of that nature. So we help in that way. But it just really, I'm at a quandary. I'm at a place where I'm feeling like I really want to get further involved and help more, because I think that there is a lot of good being done in the atheist and the humanist community around this area. And I think it could use more support.
I feel like our answers may not have been applicable now with a little more information. Patrick, at that point, when you want to get more involved in an involvement that you know would negatively impact your business, that's a decision that you need to make together with your partner and your family. And it's not necessarily going to be a fun conversation, and it may not come out with the answer that you want, and it may. But best of luck, man. I wish that there was a better response to give. What do you think, Jim?
I was fired for being an atheist. So I was accused of being for gay rights and being an atheist and for abortion. And I answered yes. And they're like, you can't say that. And I'm like, you can't ask me that. So when I say I understand the consequences, I understand the consequences.
Wow.
But I was in a position financially and willing to, I couldn't hide anymore, but I was the guy going on TV. So I took it a whole nother level. So you have to understand the consequence. But I like what you're doing of, I'm going to host a Pride Night. Yes. I'm going to support women. You can have your event at my place. We are inclusive. We are welcoming. That is a great way to get involved. People need venues. Yes. And there's all sorts of social issues that humanists and atheists support that they need where you have an establishment people can come to. And that's a great way. And then when you have the guy come in, that's the bigot, to be like, hey, next Tuesday's Pride Night, you might want to come in on Wednesday. Hey, we are a business. We support all people. When you're talking to those people, you don't have to take a personal stance. Like if the church wanted to come in and have 20 people, would you feed them and let them have their event there?
Well, that would depend. Because if it was a what do I want to say, a very fundamentalist sect that I felt like was very it could hateful towards certain people, I think I would turn it away. I think that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, well, it's different if they're going to have like an anti-gay rally at your place. That's very different than like, hey, we are just here to.
Right.
For food or beverage or what that is, and not get engagement. So supporting the community is a way you can get involved without calling yourself out as much or drawing, negative attention. But like to Eric's point, there are consequences to our actions, and you have to be willing to accept those of how far you want to go, and only you and your family can answer that.
Well, the main reason I called is I just wanted to throw this off against a board besides just talking to my wife. And she said, call them up, see what they have to say about it. And we've talked about this for quite a while, and that's it. We're going to be coming to Austin here in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to coming by the center and meeting you guys. I'm big fans of what you're doing, and not only your community, but all of the communities out there that are trying to educate and let people know that, you don't have to be a born again or a Bible or a cradle Catholic or whatever to be a good person.
That's right. That's right.
Right on. And if Patrick's coming, I guess now I have.
Right.
Patrick.
I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks so much.
Take care, brother. I look forward to meeting you, man. Let's go out for a drink.
Yeah, we will. I'll be in touch.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Take care. All right, I think it's time to thank those patrons. We have 2 more callers on the line, and we're going to get to them both. So, Gregory and Jenny, please stay on the line. But it's time for me to thank our top 5 patrons. If you want to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. Our top 5 patrons are Neil. Neil, you rock. Nando Gonzalez, Austin Ploshnik, Lynette Cross, and Joe Roll. Neil, Nando, Austin, Lynette, and Joe Roll, thank you. You are our top 5 patrons. And for everyone else, every little bit. I mean, it's huge. And really, even, the small donations, a lot of people go, oh, well, maybe it's not really worth it, $1 an episode, that's $4 a month. But in the aggregate, and if you have to go and, your financial situation changes and, okay, you can't donate $4 a month, you're not a $1,000 an episode donor. We don't have any of those, but, we're able to float better on the support of you. So if you like what we're doing, if you want to empower us to do more stuff, it's because of those donations that we're going to be able to road trip out to the American Atheist Convention. It's because of those donations that we're able to set up this Atheist Day event on March 23rd. Please consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/talkheathen to me.
And your support is greatly appreciated to do the great work and continue the great work that the ACA continues to do in Talk Heathen. I mean, you guys are amazing, and small donations do matter, and not beholden to any one big donor to allow the content to do what you want to do. So I would even say the small donations by everybody is super important.
Oh, good call. Good call. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Jenny in Ohio. Jenny, we're live with Eric and Jim. Hi.
Hey, Jenny.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe I got on the show. This is crazy. Okay. No, my son heard me on the TV and I was trying to come in. So first off, I want to say thank you, Eric, for last week talking to him from a place of empathy when you were talking about, like, the shame you felt after you became an atheist. I totally related, and it was all based on fear, which is why I'm calling, because I am petrified of my father teaching my son religion the way he taught me. And the best example I can give is when I was 8, he explained to me what eternity was like. He said that imagine a granite mountain, just say 10,000 feet tall. Once every 10,000 years, an eagle will swoop down and brush against the mountain. By the time that's eroded away, that's a millisecond of eternity. Now, after he told me that, I literally ran and threw up.
Yeah, I think that is the correct response.
Kind of. That's just slightly the intensity of my father. If you take Sons of Anarchy, Taken, Christianity, and martial arts, that's my dad.
All right.
He's very
So we're going to be talking about boundaries, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to approach him on this topic because I am super closeted. They'll hate my husband if I come out, which I think is hysterical because I've been questioning them my whole life with this. And he's a pastor. Let's add that he's a pastor to the conversation.
Wait, your husband or your father?
My dad.
Oh, my.
Oh, no, my husband's an atheist. And the shame that I understood was he was scared to tell me he was an atheist because I don't remember saying this, but I believe I did, that if he ever told me he was an atheist, I would divorce him. Now, the hide-and-seek champion of the world has never helped me. Okay, I was always told to give the wheel to Jesus, and every time I did, he drove me into nothing but bullshit. Okay, he never, because he's not there, but I never had any of my prayers answered. My husband got me out of all of those horrible situations, and I was willing to walk away from that because I was petrified of that millisecond of eternity in hell.
Yep.
And now,
Okay.
I don't know how to approach the subject with them.
Boy, that is a lot. So how to approach this subject with your father? Number one, has this come to a place where you feel like you need to? Obviously, you're calling in, so I would assume that's a yes.
Well, he wants to buy my son his first Bible and whatnot, which is fine. I had told them already I want my son to study and figure out exactly what he wants. I want him to find evidence for whatever he wants to follow. He hears me and my husband talk, and he's obsessed with science. I highly doubt he's going to be Christian. But even if he doesn't follow that path, those stories are scary. They're petrifying.
They are.
I don't even remember a time where I didn't know about hell. I do not remember a time where I didn't know about hell and how hot it was.
You know, I think Jim nailed this from the beginning. Setting boundaries is going to be a very, very important.
I think you have two separate things to address. The first is you are the parent and setting boundaries and say, Dad, you know, when you talk to me about hell, it scared me, it petrified me, I vomited. It is still shaking me to this day. When it comes to religious instruction for my son, here's what I want. And then you set out that boundaries of, you know, we are the parents, we are going to take care of his instruction.
Yeah.
And you can set those clear boundaries. It's a very separate conversation whether you're an atheist or not. It has nothing to do with it.
Then here's my fear is I really worry that he's going to go down that. I still lead the family in prayer and everything else. And it is the most annoying thing in the world to visit your fundamentalist father pastor's house and pretend to agree with all of the horrible, just disgusting things that are talked about.
Then Jenny, definitely. I've seen this talking to people a lot of times, and I'm sure, Jim, you have too. When you don't set those boundaries, it leads to resentment, which leads to anger, which leads to burnt bridges. And anger leads to hate.
Can I also
hate
say
leads
I
to
work
the dark
for
side. Oh, my goodness.
Can you make this more complicated?
I'm going to, yeah.
Well, you know, I was talking to somebody who said, you know, that they were able to shut down that religious thing at work without even saying that they were an atheist. And so what they did was they said, you know, it was just something everybody talked about in the office was going to church and about their Christianity. And the boss walked up to him and said, hey, you know, are you going to our church event? At which point he turned to the pastor, or not the pastor, he turned to his boss and said, would you ask me about how I have sex? Because this is a personal matter, and the way that I treat religion is personal. I don't talk about it with people, and I feel it's very inappropriate to talk about it with me. This is something that I'm handling, that I've got, and I'd appreciate it if you left that boundary alone. There are ways to firmly say, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, which, by the way, before we go any further, I am very happy with my life now. Becoming an atheist was the best 30-year-old birthday present I gave myself. The day before I turned 30, I just, you know, I went on a manic episode and I just researched like crazy, and I came up to that conclusion. So I am very happy with my life now. That doesn't mean I'm not going to seek therapy for all this or anything, but I just don't want anybody to think that I'm not living in fear anymore, except when it comes to this scenario.
Let me
honestly,
preface what I'm going to say is, you know your family better than that. I mean, we only know what you told, so you have to make those consequences. And there's a couple ways to handle this, and you know which is best. You could sit down and say, Dad, I'm an atheist, and just floor him and lay it all out and get it out of the way. You know, and depending on knowing your parents, do they love you more than they do their religion? Like,
no.
And then the second way is, it doesn't have to be about atheism. When they say horrible things about people, like their religion's anti-LGBT, stand up for the issue. When they go against abortion, stand up for the issue, or talk about how this makes you feel uncomfortable. And also, you can preface it with speaking in third person or party about issues. Like, so when you see something about, hey, Dad, did you see this thing happen in the paper about this humanist group or this separation of religion government? What do you think about, and talk about it? And if he's like, oh, well, you know, they fed the home, whatever they did, and it's positive, then you can talk about it. If he rips it apart, then avoid it. You're not on the hook. So talk about articles about these issues that you care about, or humanism or atheism, or about non-religious. Like, hey, did you see this couple?
Yeah, I'm a humanist.
Yeah, but did you see this couple or this pastor, like, you know, or this parent shunned his son because he came out as an atheist? You know, what do you think about families doing that because they're gay? Or what if an atheist, like, what? And see what they say. And if he says, well, the religion comes forward, or I would never do that, family comes first. You don't have to admit anything. You're just talking about this article that you did. And if you start doing that over weeks, months, years, by the time I came out and you come out and say, I'm an atheist, they're going to be, what? Oh, well, yeah. But you already know the answer. If you start talking about these things, not as you personally, you can get a good feel of where they're going to go. And you know what? You may be right. It could be horrible. Or you may be wrong, and it could be no big deal. Yeah. It's usually somewhere in between.
But
that is true.
But we do get the whole spectrum. I mean, here at the ACA, I meet people every day, some of whom have been disowned by their entire families, some of whom were surprised to find.
See, that's the thing. My mom would honestly probably have a heart attack, and I cannot die with my mom thinking I'm going to burn in hell because she's heard the same stories.
Then, Jenny, you have your answer. It's not comfortable and it's not nice. But being true to yourself, you need to make that decision. And whatever that decision is, we're not going to be mad at you. We're not going to blame you or anything like that. We understand that in your life, you need to make decisions that are going to lead to your own happiness, right? And if you're going to, you know, prioritize your family not knowing to be able to salvage that relationship, no one here is upset with you. It's going to be okay. You know, if you decide...
It sucks so bad because the rage I feel sometimes.
Then get online. Call us up. Get on Facebook. Get on Discord. We have people. Let's pop... You know what? I call it popping the cork. When I first started, I was a call screener for the Atheist Experience. And when I would screen calls, there would be people who would, for the very first time, talk to an atheist. And they've been an atheist for years, and they've never had the chance to interact. And you pop the cork, and it's a life, you know.
I do have a lot of my friends when they're mostly guys, and when they found out I was atheist, like I swear to God, that night I got like at least 20 different videos. You guys were in there, and so was.
Hey!
Everything. And I swear to God, it was hysterical. They're still sending me shit. And they come over every week. I'm like, okay, listen, it's been a year. Yeah. I promise. I'm watching everything.
But get in touch with us, and, you know, we can help with some of that frustration talking about it.
Jenny, are you part of any local community there in Ohio? Because they have a strong, I'm near Cincinnati, so I'm very familiar with Ohio.
Oh, no, I haven't. I'm honestly, that's another thing. I'm scared to get in something around here because my dad knows too many people. It's stupid.
If only we knew people who could find something for you to do to get involved in Ohio. Jim, do you know anybody?
I may know. So if you would like to leave your contact information, I'd be happy to talk to you kind of offline.
It's right at the bottom of the screen, mail@talkheathen.com. But Jenny, I think we're kind of started to run afield, and we need to kind of rein it back in. I've got one more caller.
I'm saying, yeah.
Thank you,
All
Jenny.
right, take care.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
All right, last caller. Ready?
I'm ready.
Gregory in Kansas. Oh, wait, hold on. There we go. Gregory in Kansas. You've waited so long.
How's it going?
Doing all right. How about yourself? You're talking to Eric and Jim.
I love your show.
Oh, shucks. Yay. What do you want to talk about?
I work with a lot of Muslims and Christians in work, and we have a lot of debates about it. And they're so arrogant when I ask them questions they can't answer, I was a Catholic for like 42 years, and then I was a born-again Christian for 1 year during that time.
Oh, yeah? What church? Hello? Gregory? I think we lost him. They got to him. They found him. So I think it's time to get to that part of the show. Jim, I'm so happy that you're here. You're always fun to hang out with. And when it came to, holy crap, some of those issues like abortion, I'm glad you were, able to pick up and share your experience, because I know you work with Planned Parenthood so much.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about any of these subjects. And, in women's issue, I'd rather have them here. But since they're not, at least, I've talked to them. And just being able to talk to the folks and hear their concerns, means a lot. The only thing that made me nervous, to be honest, is when I got the memo, like when we do the show, what to be prepared for, what we talked about, is that I'm not supposed to wear pants while we're recording this episode. I heard that's a thing, like, we don't wear pants. They can't see you that we're not, people don't wear pants when recording this. I'm okay with it, but I thought it was a little odd. Not gonna lie.
We're gonna get you some nicer underwear.
Next time I'll stand up.
All right, maybe we could do a donation thing, yeah? But I think it's that time. So do you remember how we did it last time? We start by throwing some love rings up. There we go.
Nice.
Right? And then
everybody should have love rings, but they should be purple, not green.
Heretic.
I'm judging.
So Jim, especially because you're here, I'm proud to say at this part of the show, we look at the camera and we tell people, if you are an atheist, this is your community. This is where you belong, right? If you had to say something to the atheists out there who are feeling disaffected or don't feel like they have community or haven't been able to reach out or just watching, lurking, but like Jenny, kind of sitting quietly.
You're not alone. We're everywhere. I mean, you are not alone. Reach out. If you don't know who to reach out to American Atheist, Talkie, and the ATCA. Reach out to me. I can put you in touch with your community. Odds are there's a vibrant community in your backyard. I thought I was alone in Kentucky, and now there's thousands of atheists there. Kentucky, there was thousands. Who knew? Like, all it took was one person to be visible to let people know they weren't alone, and people flooded. I mean, you're not alone, and you do not have to take this journey alone.
And then for those people who do believe, here's the part where we look at the screen and we say, we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong. You ready? For those who do believe, we don't hate you, we just think you're wrong. See you next week.